Alright, if I'm lucky enough one day to be asked by someone, anyone, or Zeitgeist, I think you're a good writer, tell me what it takes to be a good writer. I'll probably start them off where I start off every time I'm considering a new story or a new idea, and that is with my three basic sort of laws. And I think for the most part, every writer has something like this. They all have their own principles and guidelines when it comes to writing. It's just a matter of how they got to them. So these are mine, and I think these are a great place to start, especially if you're a beginning writer and you're just starting out and you want to learn. So this is where I start, and this is where I would tell anybody to start. First, you want to have a good working knowledge of yourself. Now, that may seem a bit, corny or whatever to say, but you gotta understand, for the most part, with a few exceptions, 14 and 15-year-olds don't get book contracts. Except for a few exceptions, and that's because, at least in my opinion, they're still trying to figure out their own psychology. They're still trying to figure out what they believe. And if they're still trying to figure out the mechanics of their own mind and philosophy, then they can't be expected to write and design the values and philosophy of a completely different person. At least not convincingly. So it seems on its face to be trivial, but it is actually very vital, and you have writers, the best writers usually are adults, for a reason. They know themselves, they know what they believe, and they can separate their beliefs from a character and create a different set of philosophy and values that people can attach themselves to. So it's vital, if you want to get into writing, to have a good working knowledge of yourself. And that's number one. Number two, you have to understand that flaws are actually a good thing. And that's hard because in our culture right now, in our popular culture, we have an ideal kind of character of this flawless, pale, perfect, immortal being. Not that I'm calling anybody out, but that's sort of the image right now of what the greatest characters should be like. And it's just not so. And you have a lot of people that are actually pushed back from that type of character. The majority doesn't like that type of character and the plot that character revolves around, because you can't identify with it. There's nothing there for you to latch onto. We humans identify each other through our flaws, our mutual sort of bumps and scrapes and scars that we get along our journey in this life. So you want to have those scars in the character a little bit visible. You want to be able to have something there that people can grab onto. And a good place I start, usually when I'm doing a character, is the biggest flaw of all in humanity, some could say. And that is, can this character die? In the story, can this character die? And always think about the flaws. You don't want them too flawed, but at the same time, you want that to be there. You want them to have what we like to say down here anyway, a little dirt under the fingernails. So understand yourself. Understand that flaws are a good thing. And then I would say, I sum it up like this: back off of your characters and of your story. That seems, I know the first one seems kind of that one I know sounds ridiculous, but I have a good reason for it. Is I see writing as more of an organic, natural kind of process. And that is to say, if you're designing a character and you do it right, and you have a general idea that is good, and the general idea of course being the plot itself, then you should be able to let those characters interact with that idea without you coming in and saying, no, well, I wouldn't have them do that. Or rather, I would rather him be with her instead of with her. You should be able to, and let me just stop here and say it. It's hard. We all have an emotional investment with the things we create, especially writers. I don't know a writer that exists that doesn't have an strong emotional connection, whether they love or they hate a certain character, a certain plot. Everybody's the same way with that, so it's unavoidable. But at the same time, if you want something there that's good, that feels natural to somebody that's picking up your work and reading it, then you have to, at a point, let the character kind of explore the plot on their own and let them develop through that idea, and you just kind of got to sit back and think, okay, what would this character do, and write it down, and let that be where the story stands. So that's it. Those are my 3 basic laws. Understand yourself. Understand that flaws are a good thing, and at a certain point, the story's got to be organic. So back away.